Hi, it's Mark Shepherd, acupuncturist in Donington, Chichester, West. So I've been doing a number of interviews with practitioners around the world, and also I've been talking to some local businesses. So today is going to be a merging of the two, because I have the pleasure of speaking today to Virginia Horton, who is owner and founder of Kokoro Coaching, and she will correct me in how I pronounce it. Hi, Virginia, how are you?
Hi Mark, really good to be here today. Thanks very much for the invite. It's Kokoro.
Kokoro, thank you. I should really, after doing karate for years and years, I should really be able to get that. But thank you, and I apologize. And so, Virginia is a change agent coach with a difference. She's an accomplished global leader. She's a collaborative thinker, emphatic and creative. And as well as working within businesses, also offers one-to-one mindset coaching. But so this is really best explained by Virginia. And so could you just tell me a little bit about you and how you got into
The $64 question mark that we all love. How did you get into this? So I suppose I got into this, I've niched into this after being a global leader in corporates. And what I saw was corporates becoming more task orientated in their leadership. And quite frankly, I wasn't really fitting in anymore. So my passion grew about people. I've always been a people first leader. So went into coaching. And that change and wanting to work with people who really wanted to grow, and that transitional coaching model of fast tracking people of where they want to get to and what next for them. And that's what coaching is all about. So yes, you can get there potentially on your own, but coaching is about fast tracking you and working in partnership with you. So I retrained. There's silence from you. I retrained. I'm an NLP practitioner as well. I've done a mindfulness diploma, coaching diploma. I'm just about to step into CIPD, and I'm actually doing career and life coaching, but I'm also working within a business at the moment too.
That's great. And I was just in that moment of silence, just writing notes because there was there's a coach I've heard has the expression that it's good to learn by your mistakes, but it's so much better to learn by other people's, and so, which is one way of looking at things. But the way you work is different though, and it's really about understanding the person and bringing them out. Is my understanding.
Yeah, if you think of like an onion, we're all complex. It's about peeling those layers away to find your inner core, but also linking it into your mind, body, and spirit. We're very disconnected sometimes. We're very cerebral as animals, and we've got 4 brains, obviously. Our primitive brain is one of them, which is very, very old, and that's our instinctive, our fight or flight. But we need to link it to our heart base and to the spirit. And once we join all those together, we start to become, I suppose, congruent to ourselves and start to be more authentic. So for me, it's very important to gain back to the inner self, to gain that self-awareness to move forward. So sometimes you have to go backwards a little bit to move forwards, but sometimes it's also about working on the 3 quadrants together, hence the name Kokoro, which is Japanese for mind, body, and heart.
And so, who typically would be a client for you? Because my understanding is that as one of the one-to-one coaching and who that might apply to, but you work in industry as well, work actually within company. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so if we take the companies first of all, so I suppose it's back to that modeling of the soft people skills and bringing people leadership and management back into it. Your KPIs, your performance, your strategy, your decision making is what I call output. It drives your revenue, it drives your productivity within business. Your input comes from people. We'd like to say it's AI and data driven, but you know, we're not quite there yet. We don't have computers running everything. So your people really are your input, your KPIs and performance measurements is output. So for me, it's about looking at behavioral types and soft skilling within businesses. So it is that creating that coaching culture as a leadership. So what do we mean by coaching culture as buzzword, blah, blah, blah. It's about forming teams that are based on what I call a flat tier system. So it's based on collaboration, it's based on innovation, it's based on ideas storming. If you think of a meeting where someone chairs a meeting, a senior director, and they do all the talking, it's not really going to create any ideas, or you get to sit in front of a PowerPoint. So it's this things like confidence, resilience, communication, imposture syndrome, the list is endless. And at the moment, I'm working with a company called Aspire, and we do a 40 behavioral types of skilling through a company called, the program is actually called Active Manager from Bearing Point. There's lots of models in there as well, so there's input into it as well. But some of the coachees I've worked with, it really has transformed their day-to-day lives, making them more efficient and productive, but building rapport and getting that engagement with their team to become really high-performing teams.
And you mentioned there imposter syndrome, and that's something that I've heard many people talk about. They can be very well placed, but that they do have this this feeling, and it can cause a great deal of anxiety. Could you explain to these folks for what it is, about how that affects people and what it actually is?
Well, I suppose it can come in many forms. I mean, one person I worked with had actually been promoted from and was an analyst, and had actually come up through the ranks and started as a cleaner, a part-time cleaner. And there was still that belief of that imposter syndrome. Do I deserve to be here? Am I really right to be here? Do I have the skills to be here? Not letting go of the journey that actually brought them there. So still stepping into new arenas where they were asked to do something, and going back to the mentality of, oh, I can't do this. The other one is comparison as well. When you're comparing yourself to other people, maybe a peer group, and you think, oh, can't do this, or it's not having that self-belief in your capability of being there. And it can come out in many different forms, and it's just working with that individual. We work on one of the things is the pyramid of confidence, and that's tracked through the 12-week program. And building those assets and key skills, and actually reframing is another one. So what's your beliefs? Are they positive or are they negative? Do they harm you? And how can you reframe those to actually build a better competence and self-belief within yourself? I do think businesses at the moment, and when we talk about coaching, one of the things, and I know we had a quick chat about it before we moved on, because obviously, I adore acupuncture and have done for many years. I won't tell you my age, but we're talking well over 2 decades of being a love of acupuncture and acupressure. I think acupressure in itself is wonderful. And I think when we look at well-being and mental health, but in this COVID situation, I do believe that people like yourself and myself have a huge part to play, and how we can either add service or training requirements, both in businesses or on an individual basis. We had a quick chat about the Google Hits at the moment. People, there's an 80% survey come out, people feeling overwhelmed at the moment. So it's real and it's out there, and I call it hearts and minds. You can't be all mind without the heart, and you need to be congruent to your spirit as well. So I think, looking at what we did before coaching, what we did as, an acupuncturist, acupuncture, I think there's huge opportunity out there to move forward and help people in this current situation too.
I totally agree. I think some of the core reasons that we are doing what we're doing is uplifting people and supporting them, and for them to actually then appreciate the effectiveness of what these practices can do. I really hope, well, and we'll be doing my best to kind of get it out there that, really just try these things, because the power is really there and the potential is there. And what was interesting is what you said just now about there being a program about 12 weeks, because with these things, it takes time to take on change. But there are some techniques you can do that can introduce change very quickly, depending on the way that you're working. So some things can, acupuncture-wise, on the basis, it can be kind of like light bulb moments. And then sometimes, while it's a light bulb moment, you then might need support in terms of what to do with the light bulb once it's happened.
Well, there's actually some science behind that, because when we talk about behaviours, and the 12-week program that I'm working in Aspire is different from my life coaching, which is more about inner belief, inner confidence. I work with people who are career transitioning, maybe want to find the love of their life, but it's bringing back to self. But if I look at the performance side, it's about behavioural. And 40 behaviours in the workplace, and they form habits. And when we form habits, we become stuck in that habit, because it's a self-perpetuating self-philosophy, because they become habitual. That's what habits are. And there's some science to say that it takes 12 weeks to change a habit into a better behaviour. It's quite an intense program to hit all 40 behavior types. And it's not manageable, to be honest. But what you do is pick up on the behavior types which are impacting severely on the person. I mean, one person I worked with, which was influencing, persuasion, and communication, where I would say his Achilles heels, as we say, and by the end of it, they certainly were not his Achilles heels anymore.
Excellent. And it's having that understanding of yourself, which would, to have the guidance there to get that and appreciate how you are, and perhaps where your talents lie, and it's so useful. And so you have a great LinkedIn profile, and viewing that, neurodiversity is something which is a quite strong theme. And so, could you explain to us what neurodiversity is, and your passion behind that?
Well, I'm one. So, hello. It's like standing up at Alcohol Anonymous, isn't it? Hello, my name's Virginia Horton and I'm neurodiverse. Neurodiversity is those on, I suppose, a learning difference spectrum. And it covers things like ADHD, dyslexia, Asperger's, autism, dyspraxia. I am dyslexic, not on the upper scale of dyslexia, and there's many types of different dyslexia. I think there's a fallacy of, if you're dyslexic, you can't read or write, or you're going to have problems in X, Y, and Z. So I discovered it when I was 38. I knew my brain was a little bit different, but I've also done a lot of reading, a lot of links with the dyslexia forums, can't even say it's coming out now, forums out there, including Dyslexia Advantage by a wonderful lady who's really leading one of the British campaigns out there. But also my daughter is as well, and she got under the radar at 15. But what people don't realize is the strengths that dyslexia have. We say think outside the box. We don't have a box. The box doesn't exist. So creative, empathic, great problem solvers, great communication skills, can be quite inspirational. If you think of Richard Branson, Einstein was another one. Henry Ford, I think that's right. Yeah, I think Henry Ford was dyslexic. So neurodiversity, yes, it has its challenges in the fact that our brains think a little bit differently, but the benefits of it can be absolutely tremendous, not to only yourselves, and it's bringing you back to your strengths, but it can also have tremendous strengths to organizations. NASA did a survey, I think 2017, when they actually discovered that actually a lot of their people were actually on the neurodiverse spectrum, which is kind of says it all, the brilliance of scientists. So it's something I'm quite passionate about, and I have coached people who are on the spectrum and have struggled. Ironically, it does link to self-belief patterns and imposter syndrome. And some of them are so deep-rooted subconsciously that they're not even aware of it. And certainly when we've talked about stuff, because I'm also a neurolinguistic practitioner as well, it's changing those patterns and helping them move forward. And realizing that, if we all concentrate on our weaknesses, we're not going to get very far in life. Because, we do have weaknesses. I have weaknesses. But, I try and modify my weaknesses and look to build them so they're not as impactful. But I certainly play to my strengths. It's funny because you mentioned about learning and the quote at the beginning, and about failure and about learning from others. And I reframe the word fail to first attempt in learning. There is no failure in life, and you have to try at things and then change direction and learn from them. So failure is not a vocabulary that I really could understand, or I do think you can mentor and learn from others. That's huge. But the word failure, nah. First attempt in learning.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to learn by our mistakes, and rather, there's a what you hear is um, the culture of people being penalised for making mistakes, rather than being uh, just understanding it's a learning process. I mean, if only by making mistakes can you actually then grow the ideas that you have and create prototypes and what was right, what was wrong, and self-develop. So I think, like you say, the language behind it could be very successfully modified to help people become more creative.
And language is a huge driver to setting belief systems and cultures within organizations as well. If you want an innovation culture, the word mistake in itself conjures up a moment, certainly, with people who more on the perfectionist spectrum, and, some people are okay with it, some people aren't. It's neither right nor wrong. But, a learning style culture, is a much better way of wording it, of actually, well, you're actually just trying things differently. There is no set path. And if you look at continuous improvement cycles within the workplace of innovation, those continuous improvement cycles actually come from actually going down a road and thinking, actually, we this is great, we've learned a lot from here, but we need to take a left fork here and learn from this to go on the path again. So it's a continual momentum of learning and learning culture, which creates innovation, which goes back to how you lead your teams as well. So, yeah.
Sorry, interrupting. You carry on.
No, that's what I was going to say. That was it.
Well,
But yeah.
I think from that, the whole process you just described and how it could change, that's when the fun starts coming back in,
Yeah,
allowing the creativity.
yeah, and yeah, I'm an annoyingly. Someone described me as a Tigger on Red Bull once. I will not name the person, but I do think to inspire creativity, you've got to have time and space to breathe. And this isn't just workplace, this is within your own individual lives as well. Whatever you find that space to do. In fact, a lot of powerful people, like even Richard Branson, he puts time in his diary to think. But even if you're looking after the kids at home, and you've got 4 kids running around you, I think that creativity and space can give you breathing space on what to do next and how to do it next, and help move you forward in areas of life. Our brain is like a battery, and when it's not working to full capacity, we can start getting a bit congested and a little bit stifled, but also it can bring some interesting behaviors out as well. and behaviors that can then become perpetual and form negative habits. So it's just trying to keep that platform and balance all the time. And certainly some of my private clients, I'm working on many different areas at the moment, but it is about gaining that self-awareness and then doing it differently. I mean, they don't know where the quote came from, but they think it's Henry Ford. If we always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that one. And it's quite a prolific quote in itself, because if we stand still, nothing will change.
Absolutely. And it was Einstein, isn't it? Continue doing the same thing, expecting the outcome to be different, is a definition
Yeah.
of stupidity. So it's
Yeah.
great. So it's super interesting always talking to you, and I hope that gives people a glimmer of what you can offer, because you offer things on so many different levels. Is there something that you would like to finish with, something that you would just like to say, because we're in very difficult times at the moment. So
Yeah.
we're being stretched.
If you're struggling right here, right now, and we all are, including myself, I've had times where, I'll be honest, last weekend, I struggled. Then don't be frightened to reach out. One of the bravest thing you can do is say help, whether that's someone like yourself, Mark, who's got an awful lot to offer, from services and skill base, and even acupressure in itself. It's a wonderful, as you know, I'll bang the drum until the acupuncture, because it really has done some wonders for me over the years. Or it's a counsellor, or even a life coach or a business coach. These times are difficult, and it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to ask for help too. So please, please, please reach out.
Very important message, because so many people think there's nobody out there. There's just loads of people out there. It's just taking that step. And so, are we putting some links in so people can get in contact with you? But it'd be really great if you could tell us now how we can get in touch, please.
So I've got a Facebook page which is called VH Kokoro. So please reach out there, or and that's a website page which shows a little bit more about my coaching and my coaching style. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, which is on Virginia Horton as well. And I'm currently working with a business called Aspire. I think it will come up as that or something, first of all, in your search. So those are the two areas, and my phone number and my contacts are all on those, both on the Facebook website and LinkedIn. And I'd love to hear from you.
Right, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that. And if at some point in the future you'd like to do one of these interviews again, but targeting a particular area, then that would be great as well, because the depth of knowledge is so obviously there. So that would be lovely.
Well, Mark, it would be great if we actually could do a shared forum to help others in our next one, because combining your expertise and mine, I really think we could offer some tidbits and help for people out there. So there's one to think about. Put you on the spot there, Mark. Sorry.
That sounds great. It sounds really good. So lovely speaking to you today. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you very much for the invite. Have a great day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.